Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I hope you all are hale and hearty by the grace of Almighty. Here we are with our lecture number 6, that is Good Timber, a poem by Douglas Malloch. This is unit number 3 from your new book, First Year English Compulsory Test Edition. I'm your teacher, Sumaira Zahir from Army Burnham College for Girls. First of all, about the writer, poet, Douglas Malloch, 1877-1938, was known as the lumberman's poet. Lumber itself is a phrase which is used for the woodcutters or people who like woods or forests or jungles. Compares good men to good timber. Timber means wood. In this famous metaphorical poem, the message of this poem is that people, like trees, they grow and reach their true potential by overcoming adversity. It is only through struggles, like a tree fighting through forest growth to reach the sun, that we grow and discover our true potential. Malloch lived in Michigan, where he grew up amongst logging camps and lumber yards. He wrote his first published poem when he was still a boy. It was published in the Detroit News. This is the text of the poem. This is the poem before you. Good Timber. The tree that never had to fight for sun and sky and air and light, but stood out in the open plain and always got its share of rain, never became a forest king, but lived and died a scrubby thing. First of all, you should look at this rhyming scheme. Fight, light. Same rhyming scheme. So this is A, plain, rain. B, king, thing, C. The man who never had to toil to gain and farm his patch of soil, who never had to win his share of sun and sky and light and air, never became a manly man, but lived and died as he began. Good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger wind, the stronger trees. The further sky, the greater length. The more the storm, the more the strength. By sun and cold, by rain and snow, in trees and men good timbers grow. Where thickest lies the forest growth, we find the patriarchs of both, and they hold counsel with the stars, whose broken branches show the scars of many winds and much of strife. This is the common law of life. This is a beautiful depiction of a tree. Look at the tree. It is appearing from a rock and still looking so beautiful, and the text is before you again. First of all, themes and metaphors used in the Good Timber. This entire poem is one extended metaphor comparing trees to human beings. Those who live through broken branches and storms will become good timber. These are all broken branches, good timber. These are all examples of metaphors. This theme is common within Malloch's work. Most people go through life following the path of least resistance. They often fail to understand that this philosophy is what makes river crooked, and sometimes does the same for humans. Much like the trees, the strongest men or women are not those that are most protected. The strongest men and women are those, rather, that have struggled against the elements and survived. What is rhyme scheme? The patterns are encoded by letters of the alphabets. Lines designated with the same letter rhyme with each other. For example, the rhyme scheme AB means the first and the third lines of a stanza, or the A's rhyme with each other, and the second line rhymes with the fourth line, or the B's rhyme together. A metaphor is a comparison between two things that states one thing is another in order help explain an idea or show hidden similarities. Metaphors are commonly used throughout all types of literature, but rarely to the extent that they are used in poetry. Simile, I hope you know similes and metaphors and you have been doing it since your childhood, but I want to explain it again. A simile is a figure of speech that compares two different things in an interesting way. The object of a simile is to spark an interesting connection in a reader's or listener's mind. A simile is one of the most common forms of figurative language or speech. Examples of similes can be found just about anywhere, from poems to song lyrics and even in everyday conversations. Similes and metaphors are often confused with one another, but there is a slight difference. The main difference between a simile and metaphor is that a simile uses the words like or as to draw a comparison, and a metaphor simply states the comparison without using like or as. An example of a simile is, she is as innocent as an angel, and metaphor is, she is an angel. It's a direct comparison. She is an angel. Do you see the difference? The simile makes a direct comparison. The metaphor's comparison is implied but not stated. Like metaphors, comparison is not depicted or not presented. It is implied. You can assume from it that this is a metaphor. Now there are examples of similes which are used in our daily life. Similes are used in literature to make writing more vivid and or clear and powerful. In everyday speech, they can be used to convey meaning quickly and effectively. As many commonly used expressions or idioms are similes. For example, when someone says, he is as busy as a bee, it means he is working hard, as bees are known to be extremely busy. If someone says, I am as snug as a bug in a rug, they mean that they feel very comfortable and cozy, or are tucked up tight in bed, or are rather sluggish and want to lie down in the bed all the time. Some other well-known similes are as cute as a kitten, as happy as a clam, as light as a feather, as blind as a bat, as bold as a brass, as bright as a button. Then what is a couplet? In Urdu, it is called a sher, with which the whole ghazal is composed of. And in English, it is called a couplet. A couplet is two lines of poetry that usually rhyme together. Here's a famous couplet. Good night, parting is such sweet sorrow, that I shall say good night till it be morrow. The couplet above comes from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, which is a play, not a poem. But Shakespeare often used rhyming couplets at the end of scenes to signal the ending. Couplets are very common in poetry. Often whole poems are written in couplet form. Two lines of rhyming poetry followed by two more lines with a different rhyme, and so on. Like this poem which we are going to do now, Good Timber, is also written in rhyming couplets. Robert Frost, one of America's great poets, wrote many poems using couplets. A couplet is a pair of successive lines of meter in poetry. A couplet usually consists of two successive lines that rhyme and have the same meter. A couplet may be formal. Formal couplet is called closed couplet, or run-on lines is called open couplet. In a run-on or open couplet, the meaning of the first line continues to the second line. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn and cauldron bubble. These are very famous lines, very famous lines, are an epic example of a rhyming couplet. As you may have surmised from the name, rhyming couplets are two lines that rhyme, but they also often have the same meter or rhythmic structure in a verse or line. Now this is a summary of Good Timber. Good Timber by Douglas Malloch describes the way trees of good timber and strong men are formed through hardship and struggle. Like how people get away from their hardships by struggling, and the same is the case with the trees, how they bear various harsh weathers and like strong conditions, and how they stand still in front of them, becoming more and more strong. The poem begins with the speaker describing that there are two types of trees and men. First, there are those who are readily given everything, like there are some people and some trees as well who are already having all the good conditions in life. They have no worries or no problems or no difficulties to bear. They need to survive. These types of persons or trees never have to worry about where their food and water is going to come from. On the other hand, there are the trees and men who must fight, who must struggle from birth to survive. Like for their survival, they need to struggle a lot. Their broken branches and scars are evidence of their ability to survive on and become forest kings. Especially this phrase is or metaphor is used for the trees, like they can become the kings of the forest by bearing so many hardships. Themes and metaphors are again presented. This entire poem is one extended metaphor comparing trees to human beings. The tree mentioned in the first stanza represents someone who has never had to fight for anything in their life, like they are born with golden spoon, or if it is a tree, so then they are born in such an environment or space or land where they don't need anything. They are amply provided with water and sunshine. This man had more than enough sun and sky, air and light. Although this initially seems like a good thing, the speaker turns the text in a different direction. These flourishing trees or coddled people do not live good or even full lives. They are often struck down and come to death as scrubby things. This type of person is contrasted with one who does not grow with ease. Their life might be rougher, but they are made of good timber. This leads into the most important theme of this piece, that struggle is necessary to live a full life. Those who live through broken branches and storms will become good timber. This theme is common within Malloch's work. He was often concerned with depicting different ways of life, different ways life can be lived, and how the most fulfilling lives come to be. Now stanza number one, the tree, starting from the tree up till scrubby thing. The tree up till scrubby thing. In the first stanza of this piece, the speaker begins by describing one particular type of tree and the life it lived. It is clear from the first stanza that the tree is standing in for a human being, like a tree is personified here. This is personification when trees are given human attributes. There is an extended metaphor as well that stretches the length of the poem, through which Malloch uses trees to represent humans, like trees are used as metaphors as well, and they to represent humans and their different lives they lead. They present different lives they lead. He speaks first on the tree that never had to fight. From just this line, it is clear that he is looking down on this type of person. The fight already feels necessary. Fight here means struggle. In the next lines, he describes how the tree or the person who lives an easy life does not worry about resources, like from where he is getting his bread and butter, from where the tree is getting his food, especially water and sunshine. They have all the food, water, air and light they need to survive. These needs don't register for them. Additionally, due to their position, they always get enough rain, so they have nothing to worry about. The position of the tree speaks to the way that one's lot in life is determined by their birth. One cannot choose the life they were born into. The tree did not have to fight for what it has. In the last two lines, the speaker reveals the outcome of such a life. This kind of tree will never become a forest king, like it will never rule the forest, because it will never be called a forest king, because this kind of tree will never be as strong as others who have faced struggle, or one of the largest, strongest trees in the forest. They can never become so. It will live and die a scrubby thing. Scrubby thing, just a normal thing, or like a common thing, or a useless thing. It may have a position, but that position did nothing to further its interior strength. Stanza number 2. The man who never had to toil up till began. In the next 6 lines, the speaker compares the tree to the man who never became a manly man. Manly again, who is able to face all the hardships in life. This person lives a similar life. He never had to toil, he never had to work hard to gain and farm his patch of soil, like he is already provided with better living conditions. Just like the tree was given all the elements of life it needed, so too was the man given his share without an effort. The last 2 lines solidify the comparison between the man and the tree. He lived and died as he began. without development, without any progress, without any hardship, without any hard effort. His position socially, morally, and economically did not improve because he did not feel the need to reach beyond his readily available resources. He was provided with all kind of resources and he was quite contented with them. So he did not put in any effort. Third stanza. You have noticed that these stanzas comprise of six lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all the lines are in rhyming scheme. So third stanza is good timber up till timbers grow. The third stanza is dedicated to describing what does make good or strong timber, like how the wood can be called or the tree can be called very good or strong tree. A tree that is going to live a long and successful life does not grow with ease. It encounters, it faces many challenges throughout its days, its life. Stronger wind like cyclones usually come in the forest, and further sky than the scrubby tree ever did. It also lives through more storms and an uncertain amount of sun, cold, rain, and snow. The final line joins together the tree of good timber with the manly man. The same forces forged both types of life. Stanza number 4. Where thickest lies the forest growth, up till strive. This is the common law of life. In the last 6 lines, the speaker goes on to describe the environment of the man and the good timber tree. Both are in the thickest part of the forest, thickest deep. This contrasts with the tree of the first stanza. I hope you remember the tree of the first stanza was living a very normal life, as he was provided with the best environment and he had nothing to worry about. It grew in an opening in the forest canopy. The men and trees are in the shade and far from the sun. They are both the patriarchs. Patriarchs means father-like beings or male leaders of their species. From where they are situated, away from the light of the sun and city, like where they are living, since they are living in the deep forest, which is just like a canopy. Canopy is a large umbrella sort of thing or a big tent. So they are not, they do not have to bear strong light and sun, strong light of the sun. They are able to hold counsel with the stars. They can look towards the sky and they can talk to the stars. They tap into a deeper knowledge and commune with forces that others cannot understand. They can communicate with other forces that people or other trees cannot understand. The tree and the man share broken branches and scars. Both the men and the trees, they have they have scars, and these scars, they show that they have struggled a lot. The strife of their lives, the struggle of their lives has become the common law. Like they have to struggle, both the trees and the men, and then to make themselves strong. It structures who they are and how they live. Now there are 7 life lessons which we can learn from trees. Number 1, what starts as a small seed can turn into canopy of reality. Trees start incredibly small. The California coast redwood, the tallest tree in the world, begins as a seed that's a mere inch or 2 in size. What starts as small as a dim can grow into a towering 300 feet buttress withstanding the of storms, fiercest of storms, and lasting for hundreds of years. Some are said to live over 2,000 years. These small, seemingly worthless seeds that fall to the ground in droves are the very seeds that may one day tower above the rest of humanity and creation, outlasting even the strongest of nations. Life lesson, what lesson we get from it? The small things are the big things. Like we do not consider something as a small thing. It can be very big at the end, or it can result in giving us great results, because the big things come from the small things. We are being trained and conditioned to only want the biggest and the best, which is not only impractical, it's also unhelpful. The small things are the big things. How you do anything is how you do everything. The small decisions you make and the small steps you take add up over the days, weeks, months, and years that pass, all culminating in life you live and the legacy you leave. If you think you are too small to be effective, you have never been in the dark with a mosquito. A quote by Betty Reese. Second lesson, growing slow and steady is what allows for steadfastness in the storms. Like you people have read the story of the tortoise and the rabbit. That is also giving us the lesson. Slow and steady wins the race. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. So you can go through it yourself. Read it carefully. Third lesson is building our foundation is what allows us to build our influence, our impact. Like when a seed germinates, starts the growing process, its first step is growing a tiny root downward to hold it in place and facilitate further growth by drawing in more water from the soil. So lesson what we get? In order for growth to be helpful, you must grow internally before you can grow externally. Like we need to be strong from inside as well. Not only from outside, but from inside. Like our thoughts our morals should be very, very strong and very, very positive. Notice the order of growth in trees. It is always growing down before it is growing up. Trees know that without a sturdy foundation, any growth that occurs above ground is more harmful than it is helpful. Height without depth is a dangerous equation and a recipe for a major fall. What we achieve inwardly will change outer reality. A Greek author's quote, Plutarch. Lesson number 4, seasons of ebb and flow actually help us grow resiliency. Trees are amazingly resistant, but this resistance comes from opposition. When scientists created a biome, an optimal environment for human, plants, and animals, they were shocked when trees started toppling over after reaching a certain height. The scientists realized that the element they forgot to include in the biome was wind, because wind is one of the key factors that causes roots to grow deeper and stronger. This has been shown through many different studies. So our lesson, what lesson we attain from this quote? Opposition or resistance is needed for growth to occur. Just as with trees, we need the wind. Just as with trees, we need the wind to blow in our life. Like the storms or the difficulties, we always need to come in our life, and then we should be able to bear them, to face them, or to fight them. The trials and hardships we face are what forces us to become strong and resilient as a human being, just as much as the wind forces a tree to grow sturdier trunks. Number 5, pruning. Pruning is usually a good thing. Trees benefit from pruning. Pruning is what? Pruning is cutting off certain branches for the benefit of the trees as a whole. This helps maintain the natural tree form, stimulate growth in sparse areas of the tree, remove the dead areas of the tree to help prevent insect infestation and disease, and improves the overall safety of the trees for us, for human beings. And what is the life lesson? Saying no to the lesser things helps us say yes to the best things. Number 6, growth is a lifelong process. Trees never stop growing. They are literally growing till the day they die. In fact, trees actually grow faster the older they become. While this growth may stop taking place in height, trees will continue growing in girth their entire lives. Life lesson is growth can be achieved our entire lives, even if it looks different in different stages. Like we should not stop struggling when we are old, or when we think we are old enough, so we should just stay at home. But we must keep on struggling and struggling till the last breath of our life. Number 7 and last lesson. Everything has been designed with intention for a reason. Like there is a reason for everything that happens to us. There is a reason by God. There is a reason why certain things happen to us. Trees are a vital part of Earth, the planet in which we reside. They play a major role in the production of oxygen and in cleaning up the carbon dioxide in the air. They provide delicious fruit for us to eat, natural shade for the piercing sun, a canopy and residence for many animals and creatures to live in or on. And ultimately, they provide the building materials for a plethora of products, structures, and aspects of modern life. Trees have been created for a purpose, and just like trees, we too have been made for a reason. Like why God has created us, there is a reason. Life lesson which we get from here is we have been created for a purpose, given inherent worth and value that can't be taken away. So here we end our poem, and inshallah the exercise we will discuss at our WhatsApp group, inshallah. Okay, till then, Allah Hafiz. Take good care of yourselves and your family members.